thank you for joining us again, members of the council. We are on a slightly reduced staff today, or this month. We have Sanjita and Tass. Tass next with us. We're missing Calvin and Van Seal. I understand Van Seal is actually taking a little bit of break from the game, but he'll be back shortly.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Calvin
wasn't
is
aware of that before, which makes sense why he missed the past two.
I wasn't aware either. I just found out, the other day when we were chatting about it. Maybe it was just too easy for him. So let's see. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us here. This is the something version of the council. I think we're at number 5 now, where we talk about things related to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, competitive, both GAC, TW, and other aspects of the game. So with us we have, I'll go in order of your lovely faces on the screen. Sanjita, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. Welcome back, Ken. We missed it last month. Things are going well for me for the most part. I had a bit of a rage session last night with Queen Amidala. I don't know if you guys just waltzed through her note at the end of Conquest, but I was trying to do it without a GL, and apparently everyone's telling me now JKL leads the way to go, or like soup up your dash, but I was trying to force Gas and then Bane with data disc, because I did Bane Malik, and I wasted more than a full refresh of energy, and it just took so long, just so painful. That I think someone on Reddit, I think I saw, calculated that her speed was like 3,000. Like, it's an insane amount of speed, because it's not just turn meter. You just barely ever get a turn. If Gas wasn't counterattacking, I never would have done anything. Or like if the team wasn't doing counterattacks, never would have hit them. And then like I killed everyone with Gas eventually, but then you can't get around. Once you kill the decoy, Padme gets damage immunity for 2 turns. After that, she gets the decoy back. So you just cannot kill her. You don't have enough time. Theoretically could if you could ramp up damage enough for the AoE to kill her in one shot, but you actually don't even get turns anyway, so it's just an insane overtune. It's crazy.
So what worked? Because to be honest, I have just been parked at the end of phase 4 farming Datacron stuff. I haven't really even started 5 yet. So what
Yeah,
worked
I don't know
finally?
why I rushed to the end of 5. I usually do the same thing and stay on 4, but I went further for some reason. Probably a misplay because I really need to do that before the first week. But I ended up using Jabba first, and then. But what works if you're not going to use Bo-Katan? Even you probably could make it work with Bo-Katan on this team. Jedi Knight Luke Lee, Jedi Cal, and then I had Revan, Jolie, and Hoda. Could have done it without either Hoda or Jolie. Probably Hoda. Throw on Bo-Katan there, and then you get both feats. You get no GL and then Bo-Katan. I don't have Bo-Katan, so I can't do that. But yeah, it's the whole rest of the conquest is pretty easy, but
Interesting. Well, I'm very curious actually to see how that goes, because we did miss the last one because of my availability or lack thereof. And honestly, for the last 2.5, 3 months, I have not watched any GAC videos, any other content related videos. I am so disconnected from what's going on in the game. So I'm very much excited for this discussion today, because I have a lot of questions.
So we need to reintegrate you into the society of SWGOH.
Exactly. I'm losing my, like, people are talking about all these. I have to say, like, I'm on a few Discords that I read what's going on with the Datacrons, and I read all the CG news releases slash something a week after it's actually happened, but now we're paying attention to it type of things. But yeah, so much I'm missing out on. How are you doing, Tass? What's going on in your SWGOH life?
Yeah, pretty good last season. Went 7-2. So nothing to complain about. And honestly, just some boneheads on my part that I actually lost those 2, which is the best because I can fix that. It wasn't RNG dum-dums, stuff like that. Funny you say that. You need to catch up because I mean you're offering me a really tantalizing opportunity to plug my stuff here because I did just make a video with Aesop Rock about
Okay.
Datacron set 14. So you could check that out. I'm sure you're already well into your farming here for your Datacrons, but help you prioritize for week 1. And yeah, I have my own show that I put out. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go on about it, but yeah, I mean you can always do some catch up through that.
That's actually what my plan is sort of this weekend. Now that I'm sort of settled in my internet won't be here until tomorrow. But besides that, that's why I don't know if you're watching this on a video, you'll see I have a very strange background. The last time we'll see some sort of janky setup here before I have my little studio installed. But I am planning on catching up on a few videos, mostly about Datacrons.
Sure.
Although I don't know. I have my own farming priorities. That's one of the things I guess we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, it's been such a fascinating last season for me. I went 6-3. Admittedly, I ended up in 150 or something like that in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm 80 or 90 or something like that now. But it's been also so interesting with, I don't know, it feels the last few months perfectly for me, not having really time to pay attention to much. But as long as you don't drop a fight, you'll usually win. I mean, it's been such an offensive heavy meta. It's been a very strange last few months. And I'm thinking the upcoming Datacron set here, 14, as you politely reminded me that it's not 13. I'm so far out of touch, I forgot the number. I'm very, very curious because it seems like there's a few pretty strong, like level 9s in there that are gonna make some interesting.
I would say possibly the most of any set ever. Like, there's never been so many desirable level 9s. There's like 9 of them that are like great, and then like 12 of them overall that are pretty good.
Yeah, that's just insane.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a lot.
What's the targets? Kit Fisto, Trench.
Right.
Are you using Stap? I mean I don't.
I have Stat. I don't think Stat fit is one of those like ladder 3. Like it's gonna be very, very nice come 5s.
Yeah.
Because I don't know exactly how good it'll be on 3s. Because you figure if you have the Omicron on Stat, then he's gonna take a bonus turn after every enemy takes their first turn. So he doesn't need to be super fast. Just trick him out with a ton of offense or in a crit damage set, whatever. But you figure to protect him, it would be like GG Stat Magna, something like that. And I don't know how good that is in 3s because part of the madness of the kit is having the extra couple characters that are hitting a target lock target, generating more turn meter.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
The turn meter train is what seems like the most problematic in 3s to get going.
I mean, I would personally, I think this team would only be like a defense team for me, and its purpose would be to strip banners, not like not hold. Hold is a pretty tall ask, like you already pointed out. We're in a one-shot meta. It's not enough that you are efficient. It's that you do have to kill it the first time if you want to have your best chance of victory. Because your opponent, like, God knows how many, I don't know how many people you personally encountered, guys, but opponents like setting 18, 40 plus scores on you.
Oh, yeah.
That was frequent last season, extremely frequent. So that's the reality. And with that in mind, knowing what GG does in terms of cannibalizing his bros, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be using that on offense. Certainly not in 3s, but if it is, like, it would be for a trade up, right? If something comes out and identifies, hey man, this GG Stap thing with the Kron here in 3s, it's going to take out gas or something like that. And I'm not saying it does. I'm saying if it were revealed that it could, it's like, oh well, hey, now we don't need to really talk about that efficiency because now we're talking about a team of that level that I get to additionally place on defense. And you can't be clean on everything, buddy. You can't be clean on everything. You don't got enough for it to freeze.
especially with set 14. I know we sort of talked about topics a little bit ahead of time. I feel we're going to jump around here a lot. But talking now about set 14, I think with threes, I'm not as worried about set 14 and threes personally, just given that I don't necessarily see that. I mean, of course, there's going to be some really good level nines in there and some good combinations, but I don't see them becoming such a tough team to overcome relative to how threes normally are. Like if you place a GL, you usually beat it with a GL. So
It really depends on how you like to go about your GL matchups and stuff like that in threes. But like for example, Sanjit, you were asking who's like one of the must-haves. Like I don't think it's even controversial to say Holdo. Like
Oh,
Ray Swolo
yeah.
Holdo is going to be just god tier this
Yeah,
season.
that's like
And
probably the best one. Right.
yeah, I mean, you might say Sidious is right there, right behind it, something like that. But like, it's a must-have. It's a must-have. It is like far and away one of the best ones. And like the value proposition, like when's the last time you really cared about how you were applying Holdo and when she was actually like determinant on that team? Like you've got that now. It's a big deal.
What are you going to be using Sidious for? Because, like, I don't know. From where maybe in threes, it's probably better in threes, actually, because you need more teams. But from where I'm
Yeah,
standing,
it's
I
he's a
already have
B
teams
team
left
player for
over.
sure. He's a B
Yeah.
team slayer for sure. Like, woe unto thee who sets B teams. Like, you want to set your Finn Zori. It's like, okay, well, you're not in Kansas anymore. It's not last three season. There
Right.
wasn't no Sidious capable of doing this shit last season. But now, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I I think we're all going to be. I think one of the big questions for everybody to figure out in the first week is how high of a calling can this Sidious be applied, and what kind of mods does it require? What kind of relics does it require? I'm not going to have it for week 1, but I'm hoping for week 2 I'll actually have a relic 9 Sidious. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be targeting to see like what are the uppermost reaches and what it can do, and it might require remod. Right now, I've got something like 4 potency mods and 2 health mods that add up to being the same amount of potency as if they were all 6 potency. There's just a lot of potency secondary on it.
Yeah.
So, um, but like Aesop Rock and some other top players are experimenting with crit damage 4 set and then a 2-piece of potency.
Because
Health primary on the arrow, crit damage triangle, potency cross. Yeah.
So from the way I read it, I don't see offensive boosts. I mean, he gets crit chance, but there's no like huge offense boost, and it seems like maybe his main kill condition will be the dot thing. So that's why you're kind of talking about potency.
So that's the thing. The dot thing's going to kind of take care of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to happen regardless of how you're modded. Let's say that you're decently fast, because when I said that health primary arrow, that's going to be a pretty fast one. Otherwise, you would run a speed arrow with hopefully a decent amount of health and potency on it, but something where you're like fairly close to 300 speed still, because you need to still take moves to use the ability you mentioned. But the reason why I think it's interesting that some players are going with the damage is because that's the hedge, right? Like you need the fight to last long enough to make full use of that dot execute thing. So if you're just let's say you're trying to do this first gas, I'm not saying that could ever work. I'm just saying if you were going to try it, you're much better served in trying to get him to sit down and avoid just getting chopped forever, right? Like you need him to sit, and then wow, you could probably blow out the sides just with save your AOE for that until gas sits, something like that, or AOE off rip and then it's back in time, whatever. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like you profit more from having the damage, or at least in theory. So I'm interested to see how it is, because by going the potency way, you're just going to be huge. You're going to have this absolutely enormous amount of health, which supports the whole playing into using the dot thing. I feel it. That's what I'm intending to run myself off rip. But I think that's a really interesting notion.
Yeah, because I mean, you only theoretically need to get it off twice, right? Because you do 1 dot normally, and then it gets 2 extra dots if you crit, which should be most of the time. So as long as they don't resist, it's 3 possible. So that's just 2 AoEs because he resets the cooldown on it. So, and with the plus 100 speed, it's crazy. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking about it
yeah.
more now, listening to you. And then
Do
Bane,
you think it's? No, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say Bane. I don't think he needs any help, but he's getting it. I mean, handing out
Yeah,
some
I think
crap
that his
buffs.
Kron. I'm with you. I think his Kron's pretty B tier because it's like how much more gravy do you need on top of an everything
Yeah,
sundae?
Hmm.
Like how much more chocolate syrup do you need? Like it's already
Yeah.
absurd. So whatever. I mean, I don't even know if you were going to necessarily apply it differently, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe what it does do, it expands the amount of teams where he has the most viability. I mean, because long in a long battle, he's gonna kill most things anyway, but it might just make it faster. Because I was using him to take out Saw and the Tarut because they start out with so many buffs. It lasts like the battle lasts 5 seconds because he just hacks them and they're dead. But they start with a ton of buffs, and same thing with Riva. They get a lot of buffs after their first turn. So I don't know. Maybe it might expand who we can target by giving out some of those free crappy
The
buffs.
hidden, the hidden gem here probably in threes is you're going to be seeing some Bane on defense. That's going to be some stuff
But
you're going to see. Now, I know that you give up a lot from the rule of two unique,
yeah,
but you've got some compensation from the Kron if you've got it, and also you either really get to benefit from the death bonus from the Bane leadership or the full power of the rule of two unique, and there's going to be I'm not here to say that it's going to be great. I'm saying that there's a on paper basis for people to want to try it to see what they're going to take out of you for it, and I'm expecting to see it. I expect to encounter it.
I think
yeah.
just like in the first week when Bane came out in fives, putting him on defense, not really that scary, either in theory or in practice. But man, people sure overkilled the crap out of it. Where I saw the
Yeah.
some of the GG data, like you sent way too much than you actually needed on it because people didn't know how it would turn out. I'm
Right.
expecting that a lot more in threes because
But
just like
because of the
size
larger
wise,
footprint of threes, your resources are more stretched. If your
yeah,
opponent trying to set any kind of decent defense against you, this is where you're gonna get gains in week one, right? It is like you've been prepared for all these teams. You know there's gonna be my DTMG. You're looking for my saw. Like you know about this stuff that's coming. Ta-da, Bane in the back. Or
yeah.
whatever you have in mind. You could Bane up front. Like I don't know that makes their decision any easier. And like I've said on multiple episodes of multiple things, the way with this one shot meta is right now, everybody has pre-assigned what they're going to do for the main teams they expect to see. They know
Mhm.
what they're doing for your DTMG, your Saw, so on and if you're going to set Bo-Katan, your Java, whatever it is that you've been liking to set, they've already got that in mind. So I've been telling people you got to move like the least of your defensive teams, your B teams, the teams where they actually have to make a choice going from the bottom of their roster up. That's your front wall now, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything else is reserved. Like they already got that reserved. That's locked down. That's all 65 plus, baby. Like anything that you're going to
Yeah.
actually snag them up on is going to be, I wonder if I can pull out from you up front any one of the things you might use against what you think is very likely still in the back.
Yeah, you got to
I
make them
really think
guess.
that the first week of the season is going to be the one of the messiest we've seen in ages.
Mm.
As for the people who have some decent set 14s, I mean, it's going to all come down to that, I believe. But with so little data and so many impactful set 14s, I'm really surprised, frankly, that they put such a powerful set out given their last, like, been almost 6 sets where it's been like moderate. I felt made
Yeah, and
not
like
easy, but
even with the amount of characters that are covered by like these factions, Sith, Jedi, Resistance, and Separatists, none of those are tiny factions. Those are all what I call major factions. It's not like Tuskens or 501st or something small. Like that is a enormous amount of characters covered by the level sixes to add on to whatever we have now. I'm drawing a blank, but I know 13 is really impactful too and really wide. So it really is just oh yeah, Empire, like Rebel Fighter and
yeah,
Mandalorian are less broad, but yeah, we have Rebels, Sith, Jedi. Empire. Like it's crazy.
And just the light side and dark side level 3s. That's the most impactful part of, I think,
13. Yeah.
set 13.
So,
Yeah.
Of set 13, yes. And I completely agree with what you had just said, Sanjita. But what I was thinking is that this set is actually pretty moderate still in its 3s and 6s. And what moderates the 6s is because it's affecting such a wide number of characters, like you said, Sanjita. So
True.
like it's actually elevating quite a bit of what's been in the B tier. So a lot of units will get a lot more service, particularly in 3s. But the stats are good. Like there's bulk back in stats and offense back in stats. But you have to actually roll that. You actually have to get that, as opposed to previous sets where bulk was on the level 3. You know, it was just granted. And bigger offense on the level 3 from set 12, stacking offense, stuff like that. It's less overpowered on 3 and 6. And now you have these really powerful 9s. But I actually think as a total number of crons, you're probably going to actually need less level 9s of this set than what you probably ended up getting in set 13, just because you wanted to have enough strong crons with doubt or prod up or whatever. And where you're not going to be running these level 9s from set 14, the law of the land's still going to be doubt and prod up. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought about it in quite that way. But there is, I mean, if you get a good level 6, and obviously there's some of the factions, Jedi, you might choose to run some set 14 over Prot, for instance. The level 6s, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you don't get the level 9 that you want for your particular team, you're probably going to just default back to set 13 because it's so generically useful. It's a bit of like a re-roller's paradise here.
Are you guys
go ahead.
are you guys planning on using Kit Fisto anywhere? Is Datacron?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Where?
Yeah,
If I get him, yeah. If I get him, yeah.
I mean, there's the Keller and Beck one too, because I feel like that takes precedence for that. Like Anakin, Kayeti Mundi type team, but do you think using him with JMK?
I think that Kelleran, Ahsoka, and Mace is a nasty bit of business, and I occasionally snag people up last 3s with that when it was a much less dangerous proposition than what it will be this season. And which still leaves you Qui-Gon Jinn, JK, Cam. Cam Cron's one of those middling ones.
Yeah.
But as far as the Kit Fisto, what occurs to me is that it's about guard for Galactic Republic Jedi allies. And you're talking about a situation where this is probably not going to be seen a lot in 3s, but I wonder how often I'm going to see this in 5s. You now have an enhanced JMK Jedi team. You're going to have Cam in there, all of it. It's just going to be cracked out stats for a whole team. So you have your cat with Rey, and that
exactly.
That is just absolutely Captain Insano come next 5s. Probably not a lot of service with Kit in 3s. There might be some mixing him into the Qui-Gon team, but I like you said, Sanjita, I think Kel stands alone from that. Like I mean, you're never going to see him again.
Plus 100,000 max protection. That's not too shabby. So you really think you run Cat? I mean, I know Cat's amazing wherever she goes, but you really think you run her with resistance with like the Holdocron out there that's just giving bonuses only to resistance, and then also like they're level 6, presumably. I'd be worried it'd be like an easy target.
Well, I don't have it fully committed to memory, but I don't think there's anything about the Holdocron that says like its benefits are gated behind all members.
You don't have to have everyone, but I feel like putting Cat there gives a good first target.
Cat, well, that's fine, but then there's other fine targets. Like we're talking about, work Vandor onto it. Now what are you gonna do? Oh, you want to go after Vandor? Okay, hopefully you don't get destroyed by everything else on the team. Like, and also you're gonna have Holdo there herself. Like, she's gonna cause a lot of complication. She's gonna be very tough to get around. And I'm not even saying this is a must do. What I'm saying is like that when you're thinking about how you're gonna get a lot of value out of that Kit Fisto,
Mhm.
like when you're thinking about fives with your Qui-Gon team, would you rather have the Kit Fisto or would you rather have the Kel? And honestly, I think there might be merit to considering either way. As far as being under Qui-Gon, it's really about what your opponent's liking to use against it historically, and then you can easily think about it. It's like, yeah, you know what, like it would really suck for you, Mr. Bad Batch user, if everyone on my team had guard just because I
Yeah,
decided to put Kid Fisto in here. So good luck with that, Jack.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I still don't have a relic Keller and Beck, but I plan to, before lock-in at least, use crystals
Nice.
to finish him off. But I'm still pretty behind on my Datacron farming.
How many do you have so far?
Else? I got like I only have the
20.
one level 9. I actually rolled Kit Fisto, so kind of why I was asking. I think I shouldn't have gone into Sector 5. I usually don't do that, but I've kind of been distracted because my lower account, my newer account that I started, makes me have less energy for both accounts. Because there's two, it's like, okay, I'm like, all right, let's just get this over with when I get to the main account.
Yeah.
I think I did get one of the good Separatist level 6. It's the target lock, so I don't need to take that to 9, except to reroll stats if I want to.
So that one is good, but good for who? Who is that good for?
Grievous. I mean, I guess
Separatist
for
or target lock?
3s, I
Yeah,
don't care as much. That's
exactly.
not,
It's
yeah,
going to
that's
be
not
a
a big
Grievous
rush.
Cron. And unless you've got the stat to go with it, it's not terribly interesting here in threes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really like that concerned about like 3s as far as my Datacron inventory. It's always kind of worse for me. I can't get all of them, but I have so many set 13. I'm not too worried about it. I'm on my way to a good JML one just because I've got a lot of protection rolls so far. I'm on level 7 and I have like almost 40% protection without rerolls. So gonna be
Oh,
rerolling
nice.
that. I want some more of the 100% offense things for Jedi. I want the good trench level 6 and the trench level 9. That is something I'd like to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you only have one level 9 right now. I don't know how many you're planning on being able to have for week 1. But if it were me and I'm you, like you said, you're not really too focused on threes. That's fine.
Well,
But if I
I
still
am.
had
I
to say
just
on
can't.
paper,
I can't do. I can't do it. I can't get a lot of
no,
prawns. Yeah.
no faulting you for that. I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick, if I'm in your shoes and you had to pick
Mhm.
between which Separatist level 6 you had, you get the one for extortion, so you can pump up trench. You get that trench level 9, like, because the best outcome for the target lock level 6 is stap, and you said you don't have stap ready, so forget about it. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the way I roll Datacrons, I have to be. I mean, I know you don't spend either on them tasks, so I'm not implying that. But I just roll. I level up a bunch to like 6 or 8. Like 6 usually, and then it's like, okay, once I find the one I want, then I'll take it to 9 and then re-roll from there if I need to. So I like if I find a good one, even if I know I'm not going to use it yet, like the target one, I'm not going to use it in 3v3. I wouldn't re-roll that. And then otherwise, I only have one Separatist Cron actually. Like I have 2 Sith, two Jedi, and then one flat light side that hasn't gone anywhere. But I did get one of the good Sith level 6s. They can target at debuffed enemies and get around taunts. And it's like the Amplify Agony.
Yes, that is by far the best Sith level
Yeah.
6, man. That is for sure, for sure.
Yeah, but the thing that sucks is the stats on that are terrible. I mean, I got accuracy and crit chance for days, so
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
honestly okay. Because here's what I was going to tell you. Your conventional strategy for going kind of wide and getting a lot of 3s and 6s, that
Mhm.
was the absolutely right way to do. Sets 13, 11, 9. You could say to some extent maybe you went a little heavier into the stacking offense from set 12. Like, and then you could have a wide base of 3s and still get a lot of power from that. Like that's fine. But I would recommend, like you said earlier, like maybe I should have spent more time in Sector 4. In your particular case, I would, because these level 9s are uncommonly impactful compared with the last couple sets. We had a much more impactful level 3, level 6, maybe stats than the 9s. The 9s were pretty moderate. These are some pretty cracked 9s. So maybe like
right.
I'm usually, like you said, I'm not usually trying to spend a lot. I actually dumped some crystals from my reserve into this. I've had a windfall of crystals. I happen to be in Maw Chromium with a couple folks that are exceptionally generous about gifting stuff out. So
Nice.
when you got a windfall, you use it. So like I'm gonna be, as of right now, I have 8 level 9s, and that is incredibly rare for me. Like I don't know that I've ever done that before. I think I'm usually like 3, maybe 4 tops for the first week of 3s. And this is me coming to you and saying, like, I'm hearing you about the 3s and 6s. It's smart conventional thinking. Switch it up and try and pick up a few more level 9s before week 1. Stats be damned. You can re-roll stats. Have the 3, 6, 9 you're going for.
Yeah, so like
this whole gifting thing is amazing.
It's cracked, man.
it's just like, okay, are you in a whale guild? Yes, okay, you'll benefit. Are you not? Then all it is like quid pro quo, and that's about the extent of it. So
But
so like,
there's that one no, sorry, go ahead, Sanjita.
no, I keep going on. I was gonna go back to the Datacron thing.
Please.
Get your thought in.
My thought was, I did notice, and I'm sure I will probably do it. They have like the $20 or $40 pack or something, or 40% off, whatever. So if you find somebody you can like gift with, a gift buddy, that's a good way to get the discounted crystals.
There's no reason to not do it. PayPal each other or whatever, or whatever.
Gift each other the pack.
Gift each other the pack. Like I had a friend who gifted it to me, and then I went to go gift him back, and somebody had already gifted him before he knew that it's like you can only get that gift once. So it's like, okay, whatever, I'll PayPal you back the 50. Like, it's nothing.
This one
That's all
guy
I want to
was
talk about,
like,
Sanjita.
just share one thing on that. This one guy really wanted me to get him in my alt guild for my little baby account, because he couldn't buy the Lightspeed bundles, and he was like, I trust you. And I was like, yeah. But then they brought it out just where everyone could buy it themselves. So yeah, that was funny. With Datacrons, like when I said I should have stayed in Sector 4, I have like always done that. Like since the dawn of Datacrons, I've been doing that. I just today, like this week, I just brain fart. I just was like, yeah, let's keep going through Sector 5. Once
you just
I think
wanted it.
no, I think I forgot.
The bad influence of the baby account. That's really the
It is. I mean, I am completely distracted from the main account, which is my bread and butter. But what it is once set 12 dismantled. So I rushed to Sector 3 before that happens, farm the level 2 mats, just to use as much data catch as I can. And then usually I'll get to Sector 4 and then stay there until lock first week. But this time I was like, oh, it dismantled. I guess I can keep going. And then I went all the way to Sector 5. And now I only just realized now that was really stupid. But I think I'm going to have near impossible week 1 anyway. Because you know who was my last opponent of 5v5? Did either of you perchance see?
No, I'm sorry. Drop the hammer on me.
It was Taro, or Taro, however you say it.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I am a little out of the
Where
depth.
are you ranked, dude? You crushed it last season to be bumping into Taro. What did you do? You said you were.
I'm good, man. I play high. I'm usually top 100. It's hard to tell with all these it's hard to tell with all these fake accounts there, or like the squished up. But
I understand, but where are you? Yeah.
So I don't know where I am because I lost to him. But before that I was 68. So probably 100.
Yeah, so you're still top 100. You're probably something like 84, something like that.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, dude. Nice, dude. Like he's one. I mention it. I'm not saying anything about you. I'm saying I can still count on one hand the number of times I bumped into Taro. So good on you, because that's a fun match.
It was crazy, and I lost by 40, but there was like I was kicking myself after because I think there was a path to actual victory. The only team I dropped on was JMK in the back. Not revive prevention. It was a good set 13, great stats, and his mods are crazy. Such good tenacity, everything.
Yeah.
So I had a JMK and a bow I had to deal with, and I used Leia on bow and Jabba on JMK, and I timed out against a lone JMK that was ready to die. I think if I used Leia on JMK and then used Jabba on bow, I would have lost less banners on bow, and then I would have got the kill up front on JMK, and I could have actually done it because I lost by 40. And I dropped twice to JMK because I went in with Wampa the second time because I knew I was toast. And I was like, let's just see if Wampa can pull this off. And then other than that, the only thing that stripped a lot of banners was Malevolence, surprisingly, because he has his an R9 spy in the starting lineup, just wiped out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's grody.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
I'm
wiped out
actually
my
kind of jealous of
scythe.
that.
Yeah, that's what
Wow.
it was.
That's
So
that's nice. Okay, well, you're what you said about if you had swapped out those GLs, completely agree with that, and that's the goal. That's the goal. Anybody can lose a GAC round. Like there are like you'd be surprised. There are not a lot of people honestly trying to immediately self-assess and be like, was this like me getting just screwed on the dice, or did I actually screw something up here? And man, I'll tell you what, you won't get caught on that again because like Jabba has been for a lot of my opponents the go-to for my Bo-Katan. Like I'm usually letting Jabba ride on defense for my part because I have a few teams where it's like I'm targeting your Afra from seasons past. So it's like I'm willing to bet you that I can have this guy sitting in the back and give you some trouble with it. And sometimes I'm even right.
Yeah. Yeah, so
yeah, it's interesting too. It's
go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say it's very weird. It's very weird these days with the bloated low GP accounts, whatever. That's now manipulable to get into the top X of Kyber 1. Like there's people that are doing it purposefully.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Jeez, how did they do that?
Essentially, you have to end up in a certain part of, I think it's doing primarily Erodium, and don't think you can do it in, maybe you can do it in Chromium too. But if you end up in the top part of those, you can get boosted via this algorithm. Because if you notice, it initially was just like start with 4 or 5 or something like that. And now there's something like, at the very minimum, all of the top 30 scores, like the top 30 players, and then another
30 plus,
10 in the top 50.
Mm-hmm.
It's been weird. Like, I honestly, I didn't even, this is, I don't know, feel a little bad saying it, but I didn't even look at the scoreboard until the end of this last season, just because didn't really have time. I'd do my attacks and I'd go do something else. But I looked and I was like, I was, I don't know, 90 or something. I was like, man, I really felt that I was doing a little bit better than, the top 90. And then looking and you see virtually 2/3 of the top 50 are not actually top 50 players. And I know CG has said they're trying to do something about this, but honestly, now that I'm trying to be a little more competitive this upcoming season, not that the actual position really matters a great deal. Like you don't really get so much from being 10 versus 15 or 5 or something like that. But I find it's a bit of a...
It's kind of a buzzkill. It's like if you were able to get up that high, it's like, okay, I know I'm like top 10, but it says I'm like 40. It's just, it's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
what? Yeah, Tess, what do you feel? I was curious what your thoughts are, because you've been quite high the past
You're the
6
high
months
flyer here.
Well, I've let go about trying to hit number 1 until they fix this, right? Like my goal since I started trying to be like in the top 100 of GAC was to actually finish a season at number 1. And I finished at number 2, but number 1 is like not reasonable, not attainable while this bug is not
right. You can't.
So that being said, like I'm pretty quick to take myself from like what is it that is within my control, what is beyond my control, and if it's beyond my control, I am able to set that aside. Like what you could focus on is, that you still get that, that net fat advantage of crystals by winning your match. So just focus on your matches and focus on winning. And also, if you really need some number to look at your rating, because your rating is still real. Like I'm like just over 4,000, and that's real. Now that you've got
Oh,
these
yeah, the
other,
number.
chromium guys that are 4,500 and whatever, and you're never gonna see them, like until they fix this, you're never gonna have that get fixed, or like, you're not even gonna encounter those guys that have it up that high. Like that's the biggest problem with this, is that it's created pockets of these erodiums that are fighting each other and able to more or less maintain that position, and that really
It's kinda
sucks,
funny.
man. It really sucks.
Craziest.
But there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Now you can focus on your wins, get your crystals, get your money, or if you really need to feel like you're making your mark on the ranks, like your rating still matters. Your rating, like when you can sit there and think about, like, I can mentally exclude all these 4,500 plus erodium accounts, and now I can look at who's actually here and like, oh yeah, you're 4K, you're 4K. Okay, I'm right here where I'm supposed to be among my peers. Like, you can do what you can with it, but like, yeah, it's good enough. Like, how many months of this going on? It was 4+ seasons for them to even put out what you mentioned, Ken. Like a couple weeks back, they mentioned that they're aware of and are investigating this issue, and no solution identified, no timetable provided, but like at least they said that.
Yeah, I mean, they got around to
Here is
that
basically what
way.
I'm expecting. It's going to be they fixed the formula, so now so many more people are getting more crystals by getting bumped up a couple of tiers. Now they're going to load the top. All of Kyber 1 is going to be full of players that are like 6 million rosters fighting each other to keep the top spots. I'm being sarcastic. I don't really think that'll happen, but I don't know. I really need to.
That is exactly what is going to happen until they step in and make some intervention, to correct this manually. Like, that is our destiny indefinitely. It's only gotten worse. Like, it will progressively get worse unaided.
The brackets fighting each other is the part. As soon as that happened, there was 2 brackets of 6 million players fighting each other. I was like, well, at first I was like, okay, there's 5 players, whatever. You go up there, you get a couple of, gimme wins if you're in the top. Good for you. Enjoy it. But now that's no.
It was fun in games when there were like 7 or 8 of them. It was all memes back then. That was a different time. That was 2+ months ago. And that's how bad it's gotten, right? We're all sitting here talking about like pretty much the bottom 12 of the top 50 are genuine, right? Like that's where we're kind of at right now. So, at this point you really do have to just make your peace and let what you can't control go. You can still get your crystals, you can still get your rating, make your peace.
Yeah, it's funny, like, when the skill squish was out of control and they didn't acknowledge it for a year and a half, people would say Kyber 1 was going to disappear. It would be funny if, at the extreme, there were so many accounts like this that everyone that was actually, like, the top of it got squished to Kyber 2, and Kyber 1 was only accounts that have been squished up. That would be funny.
They really just went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
My suspicion is that they're timing this correction for this issue in line with when they want to implement the next tier above Kyber.
You think that's going to happen?
So
I hope that happens.
I think it makes sense, because any game that works on this type, of rating system or ELO, whatever, like if you play League of Legends or anything like that, the growth of the top end becomes such that you have a quite a large number of players out there, and being in the absolute top bracket in a game like that. So for our game, Kyber 1, there is a significant difference of top 50 Kyber 1 versus the bottom 50 of Kyber 1. Like, it is an enormous difference. And we know that intuitively. You don't need me to explain to you why. You already know why. And that's like, okay, so for the long-term health of the game, it sounds like it's grown in a healthy direction to the point where they need to partition off the cream of the crop and make that the next rung up.
So what do you call that new league?
Beskar? I don't know. Call it anything. Call it Beskar League. Yeah, sure. Beskar is like the first thing that jumps to mind, but you could call it anything. I mean, I don't know.
Force Ghost. Force
Sure, yeah. You could give it some type of lore appropriate name, but like immediately in terms of, metals, like actual metals being used
Yeah,
as the
yeah,
rating or
metals.
something, yeah, fine. Beskar, there you go.
Yeah.
Sold. Easy. Slam dunk.
Do you think they'll introduce some sort of new tier before or in lieu of or maybe without at all touching the actual competitive game modes or GAC in particular, I guess?
Like, you mean in terms of board expansion, actually changing what the board is?
I think
Board
that's what it
expansion,
would be.
rule changes.
Well, I mean, board expansion needs to happen overall, and that's something that's getting talked about everywhere. And it's been getting talked about for months, right? Like, how many months have we been feeling that we've had too many offensive tools? It is a symptom. The meta, us having a one shot meta, is a symptom of the problem of having too much
Yeah,
offense.
for sure.
There's just too much good stuff for offense. You just don't have the defensive footprint to need to make tough decisions on what you need to reserve for attack. You can put a fairly formidable lower part of your top 80 characters on defense, still be able to strip some banners here or there, and you yourself planning to be able to 65 plus everything on offense. So, like,
Yeah.
there's a number of ways that on other podcasts that I've been on and other podcasts I've been listening to, been talking about ideas to address this, glut of offense. But one of those is board expansion, and I know a lot of us have railed against it because JC takes a long time, like particularly in threes. Like it's a long affair now, and expanding the board is going to feel bad, but I'm open to other solutions from them from a games design perspective, but surely among the things that they're going to do is they're going to have to kick that can. There's just literally too much. There's too many good teams. You're talking about how many people didn't use CLS last season? Like, you
Yeah.
butchered your CLS. You took your Chupio for your Leia. You maybe stuck your Han on a random Sana Hondo team, something like that. Like, you were butchering teams that you were previously using to take on Slacker in metas of the past, right? Like, it's just, you've had a power creep now. So
I think
that's
they
that's
really need to introduce bans. That's like what a lot of competitive meta or systems do is some sort of bans where each player gets to ban one character or one team or something like that. Because it effectively is the same as board expansion, just with a decision and theoretically less time
I
involved.
actually like that a lot. That sounds clever. I mean, it unfortunately we all know how this is because in other games that have a ban mechanic, like League of Legends, for example, it's just another game I played a lot when years ago. There's always going to be a meta set of bans, right? That
For
just
sure.
means that the top tier set of characters and crons, like if I scout you and I see, like for this upcoming set 14, oh, this guy's got a Holdo cron, ban. Like, you won't be seeing that. So it'll be like a top set of crons that are just excluded, which is going to feel pretty greasy because we're all going to go get those crons because we know that they're meta defining, and then we're all going to strike them away from each other. And the only one who profits from that situation is CG. It's like, let me get this straight. Y'all shelled out to get these. Y'all put in
Yeah.
the effort, the crystals, the time, the energy, however you want to calculate it. And you put it into this, and you're all going to tell each other to not use it. But we're still going to get the check. Okay.
That's very true. That's the main downside of it, the advancement model in the game of accumulate the bestish.
But they're not having to invent the wheel on this. There's plenty of games that have looked at this problem and addressed it, and certainly board expansion is part of it. But I also think creating that new tier and then creating some new things, like one of the most interesting solutions I think is the idea of a rotating zone. A zone like right now, what about what about a middle zone for squads? You know,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would just like a
um,
different board design in some way.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
something, and they could switch it up, like how they have TV now, where they're going to be bringing in modular planets and plugging that in somewhere. Like, they could do the same thing. You could have, like you say, different board designs, but then have an actual something like changing rules in there. You could somebody in a recent podcast of mine. We were talking about somebody was saying that you could have what was it? Not just special rules, but feats. Bring back feats. in an interesting way.
Oh no.
One of the biggest
I would,
criticisms, one of the
I,
biggest
I would love,
criticisms of
I would
feats
love.
in the old system was that the feats were do something that's tactically pretty dumb, but if you pull it off, you get the feat. You might lose your GAC match, but whatever. You did it, you got the portrait, you succeeded. Good job.
Mhm.
Like you could make feats a little better designed and then implement feats. And you could choose not to do that. You could still say, like, look, my only path against this opponent based on what I think I have to do is to ignore the feats and go for the dub. Like you could tactically make that choice. But offering the
Yeah,
alternative path
that
and
could be
tempting you
fine.
to the greed. It's
That could
interesting.
be fine as long as feats don't factor into the outcome at all, because that was like a real pain. Like it wouldn't affect the outcome of your match, but it would affect the outcome of your season back then. And I don't know if I got
Um,
like a little extra gear or something, sure, but I guess like
I
your
think really. No, I was going to say I really think what they need to have is more decisions, not necessarily more time played. So whether it's I love the rotating zone idea or changed maps or something like that.
Hmm.
Seems very fun. I like feats just because it gives me, I don't know, if I'm going to win something, give me a little opportunity to win a little extra, or I don't mind if feats would count towards the winning of the individual matches, but I think I'm sort of in the
I
minority
think
there.
everyone would
Well, I think
say
it
that.
is interesting if it does, but it's like it's a tactical path. Like you would have to take the risk. Like the feats could be designed such that if you pull this off, it might be enough, banners to actually get you the win. But if you don't pull this off, you're sunk because of what it costs you to even try to get this feat.
Right.
Like I'm open to all ideas. I'm open to it both ways. Not contributing. Like, but regardless of where you sit on this, and it's not just the three of us. I think it's not only just the top 100. I think it's most of the GAC community at large, especially if you've been able, whether through whaling or whatever, participating in this, last spate of characters, including BKM. There's just too much. We all feel it. Something's
Yeah.
got to change. Something.
So on
Yeah, I
that
just wish
general,
they would come out with something like the road ahead. We waited forever for that road ahead, and the only thing in it was gifting. I really thought there was going to be something addressing stagnation in TW or GAC, but now it's like, okay, how long do we have to wait for the next one? Are they going to cover it in that one either? I don't know.
See, and this is
yeah,
why I'm just focused on enjoying the game as is. I'm not like most folks. I'm not looking for that next road ahead. You'll never catch me saying I was really waiting for that next road ahead and I was disappointed because I'm just looking at the game for what it is as I'm playing it. And like when eventually they put out a road ahead, I'm gonna look at it and say, okay, this is what's coming. And like I wish there was more coming in terms of actual like change to the game. We're all feeling that. To your point about them putting in gifting, I was pretty lukewarm on it. Whatever. As a concept, like I personally benefited a lot from it since it came out, just out of sheer dumb luck. But like again, that's sheer dumb luck. Like as a concept, it was kind of whatever. But the game was still the game before and after that announcement, right? So I'm not really looking for I'm not looking for the road ahead to light me up because I don't see a track record of the like you just observed. There's no track record for you to be like, boy, I'm gonna be so rewarded to be, really in tune and on the edge of my seat looking for that next road ahead. Like, not really. Even when the ones that are telling you something good, it's like, oh man, we're only talking about one or two big changes coming to the game from the road aheads that we're really excited about as a community. So like me personally, I'm just focused on what's right there in front of me day by day, round by round, and like whatever change is coming, it's gonna come whether or not I like it when it actually gets here. And then when it gets here, oh well now we got actually something to talk about because it's here. It's not just something I read on a site somewhere. It's actually here. Now we do some modding. Now we do some farming, blah 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 blah.
Indeed.
so you know what? This is the perfect segue into what was sort of the last thing I wanted to chat about as we try and finish this in about an hour. Um, is how we feel about like where the game is right now, where it's going, if there's anything we're looking forward to or not looking forward to. So I think you actually covered pretty much all of that task. I mean, of course, if there's anything else you want to add.
No,
But
I'm
Sanjita,
a windbag. I should talk less. Somebody else, please. Sanjita, save me from myself.
what is your
Okay.
perspective, Sanjita?
Um, I mean, it's good. I'm having fun. I'm kind of surprised where I am in GAC. I think my average record increased probably 50 plus ranks when I fully committed myself to offense only. So it does get kind of boring for like people that watch the videos, and like I see more complaints now like, oh, this is boring, like, yeah, you dunked on that guy, oh. And it's funny, like, someone like was criticizing me about in a win I used Java against Qui-Gon Jinn because it was on the top wall and it said Java left. He's like, that's not a good use of Java, like, why don't you put it on defense? I'm like, it's because it'll just get dunked on by Afra. It's just funny. So from a YouTuber standpoint, it's like I don't know. I hope the Grand Arenas don't get too lukewarm in terms of interest or hooks. Um, get people to like want to watch that. But as far as the game goes, it's for me, it's hard to have my perspective on the game be just about what is actually happening in the game, as opposed to being a super end game player and having a super beginning game account. Because like everything on my like end game account, Sajita account, is like on cruise control. I'm not worried about anything. Like my TW, I'm never really worried about conquest. I know I'm gonna get red box. I know I'm gonna farm the Datacrons. Grand Arena, I know I'm gonna have a winning season. It's just, is it gonna be 5-4 or 6-3, 7-2? And then I don't know, farming, like there's no decisions to make. It's just, okay, what's a new character I don't have? Keller and Beck. Okay, I'll finish him up. Oh, Stap. I don't care about Stap, but he's farmable now. I guess I'll farm him. So there's not decisions to make. With the interesting thing, like the beginning of the game, I don't know when the last time, if you guys ever made alts or anything, but like the decisions are so different to go through. And even though I'm not getting any extra crystals now because I got up to rank 10 on my new account, completely free account, and even among hyperdrive players, whole top 100 was like hyperdrive. I did hit rank 10, and that was like 2 days before Lightspeed came out, and that just shot it. So I went. So I don't have to. The nice thing is I don't have to do Fleet Arena or Squad Arena at all anymore on those accounts because I cannot climb and I do not fall. So that's kind of nice. But it's just like trying to farm all the farming paths are endless, and that part's really fun to me. So I think at the beginning of the game, and it's harder to talk about it with all you fine gentlemen because you guys are the cream of the crop of like competing in Grand Arena at the high end. But yeah, I'm more looking towards the early game, and one balance issue, and I'm gonna call it an issue, is how overpowered conquest characters are and how difficult they are to get if you weren't there at like, or you weren't playing at the time they came out. Because the farming path, if you're unless you're gonna drop tons of crystals, which is not an option for like a true free player, it's gonna take like close to 2 years. It's easier to get a galactic legend than just any conquest character. And you might start getting like a whole batch of them at a time after a year and a half if you're doing all the proving grounds. But it's just like they're so strong. Like Bane, Padme. I don't know what she's gonna be like outside of
Padme's gonna be
Conquest,
cracked.
huh?
She's gonna be cracked. It's gonna
Yeah,
be insane.
yeah.
That's my PSA.
It's too strong. They're too strong. It's just like Bane. I was not looking. I wasn't even thinking about Bane until he came out because I was just like, oh, they made a sea lifter. I don't care. Like, C's fine. Like, but then like when he came out and he's his own guy and he's just demolishing people, it's just, what is this? He's a GL for me for my end of game account. This is free. It is so easy. The conquest characters are the only things I get on my account the same as any other player in the game. Any whale doesn't matter. Like I get the same day, and like even marquees, I get them months after everyone else. But it's just like they're so overpowered, so strong. It's free. It's impossible to mess up for me, but it's impossible to get for someone coming in later. Like it is so slow. So I hate that dichotomy. I want them to open up I don't know, open up the tap a little bit on conquest characters. There needs to be more ways to get them, especially the oldest ones. Cat is almost like 3 years old now, and like I don't know. So that's more of my mindset. I kind of daze out of kind of the meta landscape, and then float back in for a few hours each week to do Grand Arena. And I know I'm just doing offense only, so that's more doable. But yeah, that's what's on my mind with the game.
I think that's extremely fair. You're right. Like when I only play my one account. I have an alt that's I've long dormant. Haven't looked at it in years and years and years.
Yeah.
Just because it was, it was enough time I was spending trying to properly do one account. So God
Hmm.
forbid I looked at a second. But like, yeah, for me, and I'm sure for Ken and a lot of us here that are in like the top 50, you're just marching on forward, and whatever the next thing they add is, okay. Well, you get there when you get there. You're either waiting for it or you'll farm it when it's there. But it's always
Hmm.
just the next thing. There isn't a lot of twists and turns and paths like you're mentioning with any type of lower mid tier account where you have a lot more decisions to make. So I guess very fair. The road ahead is significantly more meaningful for you. Very fair point.
Yeah. Well, I
And
wasn't trying to
from
make that
my
point, but I do like road aheads.
from my perspective, the road ahead, I have to say the part of the game that I really enjoy is competition. So GAC and TW. I'm much less interested in TW because I don't have much to do with TW. I do my fights and that's about it. I would love that to change, but that's how it is now. Unless I want to be an officer or something, and I don't have any time to spend towards that. But from a GAC perspective, the part that I do enjoy right now, I quite enjoy the GAC aspect of the game, is the fact that the Datacrons change, and so there's different decisions to make on a semi-regular basis. That makes it, I don't know, decisions make it more interesting, and then execution of those decisions. But the last 2.5, 3 months, where I've just farmed essentially and done almost no thinking whatsoever on the actual decisions parts of the game that I really enjoy. And my actual performance in GHC has not changed dramatically. Like, it's very similar to Sanjita's, where he goes in and does his attack only and then moves on to something else. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. I'm glad that I didn't drop to, 200 or 300 or something. On the other hand, I'm like, well, what have I been doing the last year, spending all this time and not really effectively changing my position? Now, obviously, the Datacrons the past few months have very much favored this playstyle. So I think that plays a part in it. But I would really love to make more interesting decisions to somehow give me an edge in some way. And that's what I'm looking for in the road ahead. Because if it continues like this, or it's only Datacrons that change the meta, that's a bit of a bummer for me. Otherwise, the game's fun, and I'm glad it's much less time consuming than it was 6 months ago, which I'm pretty happy about.
Right.
And that's about all we have for today. So maybe Tass, if you want to shout out anything, everything you'd like, you can go on for 15 minutes if you really want to.
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't. First of all, don't tempt me. Second, I will keep it brief. Thank you so much. First of all, always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I already mentioned that I was able to get some of Aesop Rock's time, and he's just consistently been one of the top, 2, 3 players in the world for months and months and months now. So it's real fun that I was able to wrangle him again and make another video about Set 14. So that's out there. I also have my own podcast, Plotting and Scheming, which is GAC focused week in review format. We just go over on every week, myself and my 3 co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha. We cover, what worked for us, what didn't work, what our best defenses were, what lessons we're taking from this week into next, and any other tidbits that we think are worth your time. Yeah, that's it. You can catch that on YouTube, SoundCloud, YouTube podcast, Google podcasts, and then I stream live on twitch.tv/Tassinix.
Is it on
And
Apple
that's it.
Podcasts?
No, because Apple's a pain in the ass, man. If you know something about getting a podcast easily, it took me like a month to get it to, do you know that you actually have to reach out to a customer service agent at Apple to have them make an Apple Podcast account for you? Like
Really?
they don't want you. Like when you go in there and you sign up, it's like there's something. The site it isn't working right now. You go back there a week later, it's the same. You go back there 2 weeks later, it's the same. You end up Googling about this issue, and it's like, yeah, I was only able to get this resolved reaching out to them. They want you to reach out to them. I'm not sure why, but Apple's always been a pain in the ass, and
Apple
I just
generally sucks too, I think, for this stuff. This
I'd love to
I'll
get
reach
it out
out to
there because
you.
I know there's plenty of Apple users. I'd love to get it out there. It's very slow. I just got my Apple ID a couple weeks back. Now actually getting it connected in and putting the podcast on there, that's proving to be somewhat challenging. So I haven't given up, but it's cumbersome.
So do
I
you?
think it was easy for me, but I'm not. I'm going to look at my notes,
Yeah,
and
because
I'll
I
let you know
mean,
what I
yeah, you
did.
have it on
Please, by
Apple.
all means,
Do you have
please.
it on
Hook
Spotify?
Yeah,
Yeah.
plotting and scheming's on
Okay.
Spotify, my man.
Okay, I found it because I think I looked for it before on just Apple Podcasts because that's usually what I use. I was like, oh, I don't see it. I'll
Yeah,
follow
no,
that.
no, yeah, I haven't gotten it there yet. And honestly, me having it available on not just YouTube exclusively, actually having it out there on the podcast sites is maybe only a season or two old. I haven't been doing it that long.
But let me I want to rant just for a minute about Apple. I mean, I don't know how much you guys interact with this, but so you know how Apple takes their 30% cut out of anything just for
Mm,
existing. Like I
mhm.
I turned off super chats on my YouTube channel. I didn't get too many because I don't live stream a lot, but when I would, it would say, "Oh, someone's super chatted you $10," and then like I go to the my side of things and it says you have $4.90. I was like, did they cancel half of it? And it's if you donate something on an iPhone, Apple steals their 30% and then YouTube takes their 30%. So you get like it's like less than half. People think they're donating. Like
No, yeah,
back when AP Gaines had like the whole family issue and everyone was trying to raise money for him, I was thinking people were putting like $500 super chats, and I'm like, I hope you didn't give that on an iPhone. Like I made a post and try to point people to the Patreon or the GoFundMe because it's like they literally
yeah, or
they will not
something.
tell you like if you're donate they should be told when you're donating. Look, we're gonna take this much. Apple's gonna take this much. Are you cool with that, or you want to use literally anything else? It's just so silly. So I just turned it all off because it's like I don't know. It's crap. Hate Apple.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Most of my career in software development, like the first 15 years or so, the company I worked for essentially provides 30% or so of the payment infrastructure for all of these companies around the world that do similar things. And it is ridiculous how profitable it is for these companies. It is just insane.
I believe it. I do.
Crazy. Yeah.
Just like an overpriced toll road for everything.
Yep, that's the internet. Series of tubes that they charge for.
Mhm.
So, Sanjita,
Yeah.
how about you? Where should people find you besides not super chatting?
That's right.
Just YouTube. I mean, I got the Discord server too, so join that if you want to chat with people or get notifications about videos and stuff. Yeah, just Sanjita on YouTube. A lot of people will be watching this already on my channel. It's SONGETA, one word, and yeah, that's where you find me.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Tass. Where people can find me. Hopefully soon, more of the podcasts every few days during GAC, the meta. And yeah, I've got a YouTube I do occasionally, and Granular Science, the website. That's still been active while I've been out of pocket a bit, but start
Yeah,
doing a few more
I
little
went to
tweaks and
listen
changes
to
there.
some of your stuff like the other day, and I was like, "What the heck? Where is there's like one thing in the past 2 months?" It's like, what's going on over there?
Yep. Well, now you know. I'm
Yeah,
back. Almost.
he's back.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. As always, this is awesome. Pleasure to have you both here. And good luck in this coming season.
All right, thanks
Thank
everybody.
you.
See
See
ya.
you soon.